Hello there, people of the internet. As I've been making these videos over the years, I've kind of gotten to a rhythm whenever it comes to making videos. And whenever I make my videos, I normally make them, one, because I really enjoy what I'm doing here, but I'll make them for the sake of consistency as well. And although I enjoy the things that I talk about, I kind of, just as time goes on, I kind of lose why I'm passionate about what I do. Like, I enjoy the things that I do here, but man, there's just times where what I'm doing and what I'm talking about is just, like I said, going with the flow versus a wholeheartedly enthusiastic passion for the discussions. But today, I am passionate about what it is that we're talking about. This is one of the reasons why I really enjoy what I'm doing. So I experiment with making gunpowder. I have just all sorts of experimentations on the channel whenever it comes to making gunpowder. The thing is, the gunpowder that I normally make is black powder. And normally, whenever people make their own gunpowder, it is black powder. And that is because smokeless powder is significantly more difficult to make. That being said, I am a gun guy through and through, wholeheartedly, all passionately. It is just what I do and what I enjoy. So I am going to kind of dip my toes into the water of making smokeless powder, and that's what we're doing. I have been doing research for literally years on different ways to make smokeless powder. I was experimenting with gun cotton there for a little while, but anyone who knows what gun cotton is and how it's made, etc., it's a little bit on the dangerous side, so I didn't necessarily give that up. I'm just gonna find a better way to do it than I have been. So I shifted my sights to a different version of smokeless powder, and I think that this is probably going to be the safest one. So one of the main ingredients in this particular smokeless powder is ammonium nitrate, and for those who don't know what that is the main ingredient for tannerite. So we're gonna be using, I guess, tannerite to make gunpowder, and that's just what this video is going to be. So let me tell you guys where this smokeless powder idea actually came from. So back in World War II, whenever gunpowder was not very available for civilians to be able to buy, there was a bunch of experimentation that was done in several efforts to try and make smokeless powder. This way you can enjoy smokeless powder and all the benefits it has as opposed to black powder. Well, there was a book that I found. It's called Primers for Small Arms Cartridges by M.J. Halbert and H.F. Olberg. I apologize if I mispronounced those names. But in this book, they have detailed descriptions on not only reloading your own primers, but making several different kinds of powder, including one which was their number 7 smokeless powder. Now, I know I say it's a number 7 smokeless powder, but this is the number 7 of this particular book. It does not have the burn rate of the number 7 gunpowder that we have nowadays that is actually classified as number 7. And if you look up number 7 gunpowder, you'll understand what I mean if you're not a reloader. So, this particular gunpowder is not of the burn rate of number 7, which is a far faster burn rate. This particular gunpowder has a burn rate that is similar to 4320, and that is a very slow burning rifle powder. So this particular gunpowder is made with potassium nitrate and charcoal, which, if you make your own gunpowder in any sense of the word, that is how black powder is made. And because it has those ingredients, it is hygroscopic, and that means it is corrosive, and so you want to clean your firearm much like you would with any other corrosive ammunition. So potassium nitrate and charcoal, that is the black powder aspects of it. However, you adding ammonium nitrate and lead nitrate, I have not actually, as of right now of filming this first part of this video, I have not actually gone about making this powder yet. And that's because it's currently nighttime and the family's asleep, and I don't want to go wake them up and tearing through, messing with a bunch of chemicals. Like, don't bother me, I'm over here making things, leave me alone. And they're like, damn it, Sean, we're trying to sleep, get out of here. Put the chemicals away. Oh, God. I gotta watch what I say on YouTube. But That's the main reason why I haven't done this yet, but I will be doing that depending on how long this video goes. I'll probably make that along with the range footage into a part 2, but this is absolutely happening. So we have these ingredients for this smokeless powder, and although it has a burn rate that is similar to 4320, it is a lot less dense than 4320, and what I mean by that is normally 4320 in a 308 case, you would be able to shove like 47 to 50 grains inside of that case, depending on like the width of the case and all the other information that goes into that particular capacity, versus this number 7 powder made, like, gotten from this book, Primers for Small Arms Cartridges. That 308 case is filled with 33 grains, and that 33 grains of this gunpowder will send a 150 grain bullet at 2,400 feet per second from that 308 cartridge. And that was done through later experimentations. Now, the reason why that 33 grains sends that bullet at 2,400 feet per second, that is equivalent of, like, say, a 30-30 smokeless powder load. So that's pretty gosh darn good, but not quite the velocity we want. We want something more like 2,800 feet per second. So the reason why that 33 grains gets you such a good velocity in comparison to what you would normally get with that amount of 4320, that has to do with the amount of powder that is inside of that particular case and the compression of how that powder kind of... Those who don't know how smokeless powder works, if you have smokeless powder outside of a bullet case and you light it on fire, it just does a slow burn. But if you have it inside of a case, then as it burns, it creates pressure, and that creates compression, and that allows the powder to burn much faster. And so as a result of this particular powder being more compressed inside of that 308 case than it normally would be with 33 grains of 4320, you're going to get a little bit more velocity than you normally would using actual 4320. Like, for example, if I were to stick 33 grains of real 4320 in that 308 case, I would probably get more like 2,000 feet per second versus that 2,400. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and grab my whiteboard right here, and I will try and show you guys why. What's a good graph depiction here? Okay, so here's our whiteboard of knowledge, and this, it kind of looks like boobies, but I'm gonna get my mind out of that gutter. So let's say that this right here is a gun barrel, and let's say you have a 308 case loaded with real 4320, like actual commercial production 4320. Whenever you fire that 4320 through that 308 case, it has a particular pressure curve as it goes down the barrel. It is going to reach a particular maximum pressure, but the rate at which it reaches that pressure is determined by the compression inside the case, along with the amount of powder and the amount of room that powder takes up, which increases or decreases the compression based off of what size or what weight or how much capacity that powder is taking up inside of that case. There's a whole lot of science and whatnot that goes behind it. But if you get rid of that extra space, like 30 grains of actual 4320 inside of a 308 case, you're going to have a lot of airspace inside of that case. Versus the number 7 stuff from this book that I'm going to be experimenting with, there's no airspace with that 33 grains. And since there's no airspace, your compression is going to be significantly higher than the airspace, than the cartridge that has the airspace. And so even though the burn rates are the same, the pressure curves are going to be different because of those compression ratios. That's the same reason why inside of a car's engine, if you have an engine that has a high compression, that engine tends to make more power. There's more that goes into an engine than that, like, for example, airflow, but that's way beyond the scope of this particular video. But that increased compression results in more power. So that pressure curve is going to be achieved faster, even though the maximum pressures are going to be relatively the same. More or less what we're getting here is we are going to be achieving the same sorts of velocities that we would otherwise get from the real factory 4320 powder from a shorter barrel. So if we have, I don't know, let's say this is a 20-inch barrel, right? And we fire that 308 with real factory 4320, and we get 2,800 feet per second. As that pressure grows to reach the 55,000 psi or whatever it is to leave the end of the barrel, this pressure curve instigates how fast it reaches that point. Like as we fire it and that pressure is building as that powder is burning, that pressure is going to build to like 25,000, 35,000, 45,000, and it's going to build to the top of that pressure point, that pressure curve. And then once it passes that point, it's still going to be building pressure, just at a far slower rate. And so that's one of the issues that we get with different compression ratios to these different kinds of powder. That's one of the reasons why we would get faster velocities with this same rate burning powder, just because the pressure curve is going to be different because of the compression inside of the case. It's going to be different. So as that round goes down the barrel, it would reach that 55,000 psi approximately right here. This is not to scale, by the way. But it would reach that 55,000 psi approximately right here because, let's say, approximately, it would reach that pressure curve in about half the time. So once we reach right here, we're at that 55,000 psi that we would normally be at the end of the barrel. And so as it continues to go down the barrel and leave the barrel, it's going to continue to climb in pressure, and we're probably going to see more like 60,000 psi. Now we're talking at way lower pressures than what we're actually dealing with here. These are just representation numbers, but hopefully this helps people understand that the burn rates of these powders are going to be the same, but because of the amount of powder inside the case, we're going to have different compressions, and as a result, a different pressure curve. And because of all of this nerd science nonsense that we're talking about here, it's probably going to take less powder inside of that case to achieve the velocities that we're talking about here. Like, for example, with real 4320, if I wanted to get, say, 2,800 feet per second, I'd probably have to use about 45 to 47 grains of powder with a 150 grain bullet versus the the number 7 smokeless stuff that we're going to be using, which is very similar to 4320. The pressure curve is going to be a different spike. Like, that pressure is going to spike at a different point inside of that barrel. And so as a result of that, I would probably want to use less, because once we reach that pressure spike, we want the pressures to be low enough for that bullet to be able to travel down the rest of the barrel and still reach the velocities we need to at the pressures that we need to. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you guys. But if I had to make an assumption versus like the 45 to 47 grains of powder to reach that 2,800 feet per second, I'd say it would probably be more like 37 to 40 grains of this particular stuff, just because we're going to be pressing it down in that case, and the compression is going to be significantly higher than it normally would be with that otherwise equivalent burning powder. Now, if we were to, say, use a case like 30-06, where we could shove more powder in there without that much more of a significant compression ratio, then we would see less of a significant difference. But 308 is different because it's a smaller case, and that powder is going to be kind of compressed inside there, and so pressure curves are going to be a little bit different due to those compression ratios. So this video right here did go on for a little while. I think I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover here. So now I just kind of go along the lines of actually attempting to make the smokeless powder. It's a pretty gosh darn easy process from what I've been able to tell. And we'll go ahead and explore the powder, we'll take it to the range, we'll do all the stuff that I'm going to be doing with it in the next video, because this video is already 15 minutes long. So I talked to you guys about the science behind what it is that we're doing here, and hopefully that helps you understand what my general plan is. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. Is this magnetic? It is magnetic. I can just stick that right to my whiteboard of knowledge. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.